Okay, good morning. Welcome to my first in what will hopefully be a series of small business webinars designed to kind of share what our experience has been developing several small businesses and mostly at-home businesses, but a lot of what I talk about will be geared towards all kinds of businesses that are either located in a home or located in a small instances. Today's topic is alternatives to health insurance, and I hope that I can provide some information for you that will be valuable to you. Since those of you who are on the webcam version, the webinar version, you do have some options up at the top of your screen to get into a chat window. So if you have any questions, I would encourage you to type those into me so that I can see them pop up. I will try to answer them at the end, but I will also open this up to answers for anybody who wants to share with me at the end of the program. Hopefully we'll keep this about 15 minutes and we will get started. All right. Like any great non-legal or in today's litigious society, I'm going to start with a disclaimer. The information provided here is a courtesy to other small business individuals. Success Express nor Kirby Kirkpatrick make any claim of expertise or legal responsibility for the information provided here and will not be held liable. All participants should conduct their own research before acting on information received during this program. Suggestions may not be appropriate for all individuals as each person's needs differ. You're going to hear a lot over the next few minutes about what we do, what Paula and I do for our health insurance needs. We are not endorsing that for everybody. It has worked for us for the last 10 months. We have been very, very satisfied with it, and we do think it is a good alternative. But I am not telling you that it would be the best alternative for you. Just covering that here. Okay. Let's go then to a little history of insurance. What a lot of people may or may not know is that insurance is a myth. We have been trained in our society to believe that you have to have health insurance in order to go to the doctor. Health insurance is something that didn't really come on the scene until about the 1930s during the Great Depression. They paid for their medical costs out of pocket. If they had a cold, they went to the local doctor who knew everything about their family history and treated them with the best knowledge they possibly could and sent them on to the bigger doctors if they had more of a severe issue at hand. During that time, doctors, hospitals, they worked with people to make sure that payment was made. It wasn't until the 1930s and the Great Depression that insurance actually came on board. And the reason why insurance the idea of an employer-provided insurance became so popular was during the 1930s, businesses could not give raises across the board to their employees because there wasn't enough money, but they could begin to offer some additional benefits. And so they started to offer some corporate health care options, ways for them to get their families treated, just a little extra because they knew that most people would not go to the doctor unless it was an emergency. So that's where the idea of a company-provided insurance started. If you are in a business for yourself, you understand that we kind of have a divided society right now. We have all those people who work for somebody else and therefore have coverage through their employers, and then a very small percentage of the population who struggles to find adequate insurance coverage or something that's affordable that they have to pay out of their pocket. With the advent of Obamacare or the Affordable Care Act, we're seeing kind of a blending of those two as fewer and fewer businesses are offering the level of coverage or they're asking their employees to cost share. There are stories out there of people who basically have to pay more than they make at a business to be part of that company's program because of all the requirements in there and the increased expense. So it's changing, continually changing as it goes. What has happened over the last 75 years since insurance has become more prominent? Healthcare costs have risen. It's the old adage that if somebody else is paying for it, I'll go to the doctor more. If I go to the doctor more, the doctors and hospitals realize they can charge more because the insurance companies will pay for it. So they have slowly and continually increased how much money they charge because of this insurance industry that exists. But on the other flip side of it, this is a common misunderstanding is why do insurance companies even exist in the first place? Beyond trying to provide coverage for people, it's to make money. We hear that that's an evil thing, but most of us have some form of retirement program, whether it be a mutual fund or an old pension plan or whatever, that retirement money is invested in the stock market. Some of the biggest companies on the stock market, your Anthem and your Blue Cross, are insurance companies. And so chances are, if you've got any of those, your money is invested in them, and their goal is to make money and therefore make you money. Their actual profits over the course of a year, on the years that they do make money, are very, very small. It may only be 2 or 3% of their overall income, but on the scale that these insurance companies work, that turns into billions of dollars that is then passed on in the form of your mutual fund or your 401k. Okay, so what happened a couple of years ago? Obamacare, or the ACA, Affordable Care Act. When that happened, there were a lot of new people put into the market. Who were these new people? They were previously uninsurable, or they had pre-existing conditions that they could not get coverage for. This group is a very expensive group for insurance companies, because now all of a sudden they were forced to provide coverage, and expensive coverage, for people they did not have to before. So that changed some things. Those who were high expense medical first came into the insurance pool for a first time. This turned the economics of insurance completely upside down. What didn't happen when the ACA went into effect? The one thing that really wanted to happen: the addition of thousands of healthy, financially sound premium payers. The idea was young 20-somethings who didn't go to the doctor very often would come in to the insurance group, and it would allow for paying off all of those people with high medical expense. I'm sure a lot of this is very familiar to you, but I wanted to get us all on the same page. So now I'm going to quickly go over what our experience with insurance has been. We have been self-employed since 1998. Almost 20 years now, and so we've been working on this insurance issue for a really, really, really long time. That was supposed to come in one at a time, but we'll just go over them. That's okay. Sorry about that. We continued with what would consider a traditional insurance package from the time I left teaching in 1998 until 2010. Most of that time was with Anthem Blue Cross. We had a plan that cost us anywhere between $12,000 and $16,000 per year for what was known as an 80-20 plan. You are probably familiar with these. In an 80-20 plan, you pay, the insurance pays for 80% after deductible is made, but you are still responsible for 20% of your healthcare costs. In order to get to that with the premium, we still had a $1,500 per person deductible. Now, if you consider the math on that, the first $1,500 is out of pocket. We're paying that on top of our premium every single year. And in addition to that, if we have actually the need for insurance, we're still going to have to pay 20% of it. So a $10,000 insurance event, we're still going to have another $2,000 in expense. So I'm not real sure where I thought the insurance in this was, because it was extremely, extremely expensive. So what we started to do around 2010, we had some life experiences that caused us to have to reevaluate all of our household expenses. And we looked at insurance and said, you know what if we considered it a safety net? What if we just said, okay, what happens if something really, really bad goes wrong? And instead, we pay out of pocket for our doctor visits that we go to, definitely for our dental visits, for eye care. We just kind of paid as we went. Now, we were a family of 4. In 2010, it was my wife and I, and we had 2 daughters. They would have been at that time 16 and 14. And so what we chose to do was go to a catastrophic plan, which then had a $10,000 deductible. But here's a key that we found. After $10,000, it paid 100%. So when we did the math, it took about 2 months of not paying a premium at the plan and point number 2 to save up enough money to cover the difference of the 80-20 of not having to pay the 20%. So that was a huge, huge deal for us. And our premium dropped to about $450 per month by doing that. So you can see we had almost $1,000 savings that could go into and be set aside for medical purposes. In 2014, the first year that the details of the ACA went into place, our plan no longer qualified under the new rules. So they gave us a new comparable plan that went back to the 80-20, had a $5,000 deductible, and $1,100 a month premium. What we found was, with all the standardization across this, our insurance options in Indiana, at least, had settled down to about 5 companies, and all the plans were pretty similar, and all the expenses were pretty close. I mean, we're talking within $100 premium for each different company. And when you're qualifying a potential customer based upon simply what's your gender and how old are you, and you're not putting in other factors, and you have to provide maternity coverage, and you have to provide mental health coverage, and you have to provide pediatric dental coverage, those things that are and pediatric chiropractic care coverage that are required by ACA. There's a reason why all of those things became very standard. So it was at that point that we started looking at something called cost-sharing plans. And when I talk about an alternative to insurance, that's what I'm talking about. What are cost-sharing plans? Well, they are very similar to insurance, except for they don't act as insurance and they don't use the same terminology. They are all not-for-profit groups, meaning they're not trying to make any money off of the end result. They're trying to accumulate a pool of cash to be able to share for the medical expenses of the people in that pool. Here's the key thing about any cost sharing that's available now. They've been around since prior to 1999. That means they have legs. They've got some longevity, and they have some stability and viability to them. Now, why is that 1999 year so important? Because a couple of very brave legislatures, when ACA was being formed, fought to include any cost-sharing program that had been in existence since 1999, grandfathered into ACA, and that allows them to be a qualifying provider of health care coverage and still let people like you and I benefit from them and not be penalized by the $2,500 penalty that is in the American Affordable Care Act. And here's the other part of it. They must remain liquid. Now, because they're not insurance, a cost-sharing plan does not guarantee that they will pay for your medical expenses. That's the difference between an insurance company and a sharing plan. There is no guarantee. However, because they must remain liquid, there is a high likelihood that they will be able to pay that. And that's, again, the reason why it was 1999 that was grandfathered in there, was those are the companies that were viable and solid prior to ACA going into effect. Okay, here are the three main cost-sharing organizations that I want to present to you. The Samaritan Ministries, Medishare, Affordable Bible Solutions, and Christian Healthcare Ministries. You will notice that all three of these are ministries. They were started based upon the Christian biblical principle that we should take care of each other, and that we don't need a big corporate insurance company to do it. We as a Christian community can take care of each other. What that also means is they do have some prerequisites to participate, that you are a Christian and that you are engaged in the Christian lifestyle. They don't put a litmus test or a list of things that you must do. You don't have to pray 5 times a day or anything like that. But they do have some tie-ins to that. Now, each one approaches the cost-sharing method differently, and I'm going to take you to their websites now and just kind of show you where they're at. The one that we use personally, and I'm going to try to do this little pen here and see. There we go. The one we use personally is the Christian Healthcare Ministries. So that's the one I'm going to talk to you about the details of, but I want to go ahead and show you these two as well. Okay. So let me get to that point on my screen. Hang on a minute. I got to get rid of my pen. Normal, non-drama mode. Okay. Where is... Oh, let's escape out of that. Let me pull up the websites here. Okay. The first one is Medishare. You can see them here on their website. Erase my drawings here. I don't know if you see those or not. Okay. Medishare, their website address is medishare.org. For those of us that are not looking at my screen on here, Medishare.org, I do not know much about them. I really don't. I'm going to be honest with you, but they have been around for over 20 years, and they are part of the Healthcare Alliance, Healthcare Sharing Alliance. So again, I was just telling you where to find them. I'm not telling you much about them because I'm not super familiar about them. The second one is Samaritan Ministries. This was the first one I heard about. And I did research it a little bit when we were trying to decide which plan to go with. The one thing that I understood at the base level of this was what they tend to do, how they work, is they will send you a list of individuals at the beginning of each month, and you will have a share portion. It could be $200 or $300 or $400 or whatever that share portion is, and their list tells you where to distribute that portion to. So you may be sending separate checks out to different families. And a true biblical idea is, okay, Joe Smith in Colorado needs some money. 10% of my share goes to him. I'm writing him a check. That's what I understand about that. If you are in Samaritan Ministries and that's different, let me know over on the messages, and we'll have you share in a few minutes. But I would also look into that a little bit more if something like that interests you. The one that we did end up choosing. Oh, wait a minute. I want to go give Samaritan Ministries website for the people that are not on video. That is mysamaritanstory.org. mysamaritanstory.org. Now on to the one that we ended up choosing, and that was the Christian Healthcare Ministries. The website for that one is chministries.org. chministries.org. And of course, you can Google all three of these as well and find the information. The first place I would direct you, if you were on this page, is their How It Works part of it. Essentially, well, what happens is you join an organization that has thousands upon thousands of people strong right now, and you send a check, a set amount to CH Ministries every single month. So they don't call it a premium because it's not an insurance company, but to put it on what you're probably familiar with, we would call that a premium. I'm going to kick down here to the programs and costs real quickly. They operate under giving units, and they consider a giving unit a person. I don't know why they don't call it people, but they consider it a person. So in my family, we currently have 3 giving units, Paula, myself, and our daughter. You can then choose based upon the coverage that you want. The gold program is $150 per unit, the silver program is $85 per unit, and the bronze is $45 per unit. We go with the silver program because that works for what our family is and what our needs. There is no maternity care in silver or bronze. Under Obamacare, you have to have maternity care. Here you don't. If you're not getting pregnant, you're not capable of being pregnant, you're just a man in a business for yourself and you don't have any family members, why would you need maternity coverage? Obamacare requires it. So you can choose the silver or the bronze and you don't have maternity care covered in it. There's a $1,000 personal responsibility per incident. Now, this is different than what you might be familiar with your current insurance plan, whereas the deductible operates over the course of a year, a 12-month calendar year. The personal responsibility is per incident. So it's per broken arm or per broken leg. And you have to pay that out of your pocket. Once you've done that for that incident, you get 100% coverage or sharing from your group up to $125,000 per illness. So it could cost you more. Theoretically, it could cost you more over the course of the year if you have 4 or 5 incidents. However, and they don't reach $1,000 to start it. On the other hand, our premium went down almost $1,000. So we have been saving money into a savings account specifically earmarked towards out-of-pocket medical expenses. And we use that difference in that savings account to pay for our doctor well visits, for the monthly prescriptions that we have that we knew, and then we are continuing to build what we consider a war chest for if something were to happen and we need to pay multiple $1,000 instances. Paula does, I do, our daughter does, something to that extent. So I'm hoping this is making sense to you at this point in time. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat window as we go. So as I continue going through the PowerPoint presentation, understand we chose the silver program because that was right for our family. So that's 3 units at $85 per month. We're at $255 per month. Okay, so we're going to go back here to the PowerPoint presentation. Now, before I move on and talk a little bit more about CHM, I want to talk about who should not use the cost sharing, who I believe this isn't a good fit for. if you have a very expensive pre-existing condition or an ongoing high-dollar prescription need, cost sharing probably is not going to be for you. Because the programs do not cover prescriptions, a lot of them don't cover prescriptions. If you're spending $500-600 a month on prescriptions, excuse me, it's probably going to eat up your difference, your savings pretty quickly. Same with an expensive pre-existing condition. Now with CHM, over time, the pre-existing condition stops being pre-existing, and they will start covering it. I'm not going to get into that because it's on the website and the guidelines are in there. But if it's an inexpensive, not very often does it recur. Pre-existing, you probably are going to save up enough money to be able to handle that out of pocket. But before you rule yourself out, I would do the math. Here's how we got there. The cost of your current premium or projected premium under Obamacare minus your new monthly obligation with a sharing ministry minus any ongoing medical expenses that you currently have is going to equal your savings if you switch, or costs to determine if this would not be right for you. So I'm going to give you an example. This is using us, for example. 2 years ago, our premium under ACA was $1,100 per month. When we switched to Christian Healthcare Ministries, it dropped to $255 a month. Now we do have an ongoing monthly obligation for prescriptions that are around $30 per month that would have been covered under Obamacare or been quote unquote free under Obamacare. Now, if you just look at that quick math, you see that we save $815 per month by being part of the cost-sharing ministry. We can use that $815 a month for out-of-pocket medical expenses. We can use it for a vacation if we want to. What we have chosen to do is to take a good portion of that, and we've set up a separate savings account or debit account that when we go to the dentist, that's what we use to pay for the dentist. When we go to the eye doctor, that's what we use to pay for the eye doctor. When we buy our prescriptions, that's what we use to buy our prescriptions. But each month, we replenish that with a set standard amount. And that allows us to self-pay like medical care was supposed to be back in the 1920s and 1910s. Because what we found is we're healthy. And as long as we stay healthy, then we are not going to be upside down or run the risk of being upside down before we can save up enough money in the process. And that's the key that you hear all these stories about corporations wanting to try to encourage their employees to be healthy so that their health expenses, healthcare costs go down as a company. Well, we look at it from a very personal perspective. The better we eat, the more exercise we get, the less visits to the doctor we have, the less visits to the chiropractor we have, the more of that money we get to save. And so there's a direct correlation to our motivation to take care of ourselves. Now, I'm going to open this up to questions, but I will tell you that I wanted to keep this very, very short. I wanted to introduce you to those things, to those programs. If you choose to use Christian Healthcare Ministries in the future, the only thing I am getting out of sharing this or being kind of a proponent of cost-sharing ministries is the opportunity that if you use my member number, that's the 212795 there when you sign up for Christian Healthcare Ministries, then I get a referral. They waive a month of our cost sharing on there. And the same would be true for you. When you sign up, if you refer somebody, they would waive a month of your cost sharing. And so what happens, that's happened once already where somebody I recommended this to signed up for CHM on their own, used my referral number, and we were able to take that monthly premium amount, that monthly cost sharing amount, and send a portion of that to somebody that's on the prayer list. Now with CHM, each month, we get a newsletter that looks like this in the mail. There's some great information on healthcare in here about things you can do to live healthier. It talks about why, this is the November issue, and it talks about what to do on your taxes to avoid the $2,500 penalty. Basically, there's just a form, 8965, you fill out with your taxes that says we're with the cost-sharing ministry, so we're not penalized. That's all you have to do. But most important thing, one of my favorite parts about this, is the prayer page. In the middle of this are people who have cost needs that either existed before they joined the ministry or exceeded beyond the $125,000 limit they had in their plan. And if you research it, there's something that allows you to bump that up to $1 million or an unlimited amount, depending on the plan you choose. But anyway, they have some additional expenses that were not eligible to be shared. So each member gets a range of numbers of people for them to pray over, for them to help them find healing and peace in their position, but also that they can send a check to. Now, you don't send a check to that person. You write a check directly back to CH Ministries. That check, which is different than your monthly giving, is 100% tax deductible as a charitable donation, and then they give 100% of that money out to the person who's in need of the sharing. So that's a great way for you to have an outlet to help other people who are either currently in a position you've been in the past, or to set it up so that you know that you would want people to biblically take care of you if you had an extreme circumstance. So that's what we've chosen to do when we get some of that premium waived, is to put that back towards some of the people with greater needs. And then we also have a target amount in our war chest that once we hit that, we'll be able to start giving to some of those needs at a greater and faster clip, or to other charities. And the biggest reason for trying to build up a large enough war chest is our goal, Paul and I's goal, is to not ever use the cost-sharing portion of the ministry, because there's such a huge savings there that if we can get to the point where we can out-of-pocket as we go, then we would go beyond our $1,000 that's required and go to before we would actually ask for it to be shared. That's just a decision that we have made in the process. Okay, that's my little quick nutshell version of what the cost-sharing ministries are. I have already gone on, it looks like, for 27 minutes. So if there are any questions, please put them in the chat window or just pipe in and say it out loud, and I'll be happy to answer them for you. Anyone?
Hey, Kirby, was this recorded?
It was recorded, yes. Like I mentioned at the beginning, everybody on this is my guinea pig trial of that, so I'm not exactly sure how that works, but we're gonna do our best to try to put the post out there so that people can go back and watch it as well as hear it verbally. Any other questions?
Hey, Kirby, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, just for information for you, I don't see a chat window on, I'd like to get you on the computer, and then I've also got you on the phone so I can hear you, but I don't see a chat window. So
okay,
I don't really have a specific question.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for that. On the screen, do you see your kind of your master to control panel for the free conference call video? When you logged in,
what's up?
Did it give you a control panel at all?
Oh, if it did, I didn't see it and I missed it. What's on there right now is your number. And,
okay.
You know, if.
Okay, I'll look into that. There is a chat bubble that you can click on that opens a chat window, but I haven't done this from the participant side yet, so I will do that before the next one, and so I have a better idea to the answer to that question. Thank you for letting me know.
Kirby, I have a question for you.
Sure.
Have you ever heard of HTC Life Insurance Company?
No, I am not familiar with them.
No? Okay. Well, then, never mind. Thank you.
If you've got information, share it with us. Everybody here is looking for solutions.
Well, actually, I was very interested in this call because I was speaking with a insurance broker who happens to work with a lot of Mary Kay directors, and he offers something extremely different from other health insurances I've heard of, and the plans are just, amazing. And so, I'm so new to this that it's hard for me to really understand, premiums and all that, but it almost seems like too good to be true. But apparently a lot of Mary Kay directors, and it was actually referred by a national sales director, and that's what I had used before. But, of course, I was very interested in what was different. I would personally maybe just share it with you first so that I don't want to share any names and whatnot, but maybe just share it with you first and you can see if it's a good comparison. Because if it is, what I am paying now is significantly less, and And so I don't know, because this sounds really great too, CHM, and so maybe I can just share that with you and you can see what you think about it.
Yeah, please do. Go ahead and email it to me or Facebook message me if we're on Facebook together. I always want to see what's out there. The key thing is I know that some of the plans, they've got to be eligible to cover what the minimum requirements are for ACA, or else you're paying for insurance and you're still paying the $2,500 penalty. So not having looked at it, I wouldn't be able to speak to that, but I'd love to take a few minutes to check it out.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And can I ask, what was that called again? HTC?
HCC.
Great.
And Kirby, I've just got a quick question. I don't know, we're probably in the same boat, and this is probably my biggest fear. Both my husband and I have our own businesses, and this past year we have a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old, and so I pay it's a little over $1,000 a month for health insurance. And so right now we're obviously in the process of attempting to see if we can change plans or lower it, but it sounds like it's going to go up to about maybe $1,200 or so. And so hearing some other options is awesome. But obviously my biggest fear is, I swear, half of my friends who are 20-some years old or 30s or, families, and they find out they have cancer or, things like that. And it makes me very nervous to go with a plan like this. And so obviously you guys have looked into that with kids and stuff. And I could probably read more on the website, but any details or insight there when it comes to that? What happens? What happens if tomorrow the worst scenario happens? What's going to happen financially?
Absolutely. And that is something to be considered, especially if you have a family history. And that would be another group that I would say be very careful if there's a family history of cancer or heart disease or anything like that you might want to be a little bit better protected. But if you are worried about it, I would look and again, using my experience with CHM, I would look at the gold plan instead of the silver plan. The gold plan is $150 per unit. And it has, and then there's a Brother's Keeper option on top of it. Now, the Brother's Keeper is an optional bonus add-on that you can do. And it's a $40 yearly membership fee to be part of that. And then you get a quarterly share bill for Brother's Keeper. That can fluctuate. On the website, it says that their average is about $25 per member of Brother's Keeper a quarter, which isn't unreasonable at all. But it's not guaranteed. It could be $50 one quarter, or it could be $100 one quarter. That's truly based upon the needs inside that category. But in the gold, if you were a gold member and you were in Brother's Keeper, you would have an unlimited per incident sharing. So if you got cancer, you are eligible for sharing all the way up. So that would be the direction I would go if that's a fear that you've got. The other part of it is all the units in your family don't have to be on the same plan. If you've got one person who you think is a higher risk of getting sick, you might put them on the gold plan, but then your healthier members of your family might be on the silver or even the bronze plan. And so you can put the plans together that way, which I found very, very interesting. We are currently not members of Brother's Keeper because we are healthy, but it is something that we are planning on adding as we get older, and also then again as we've built up that war chest side, so that right now we decided to keep it very, very inexpensive to build that up, and then when that gets to a comfortable level, then we will put that back in. Does that help?
Yeah, and it is. It's very interesting. I mean, I'll admit, for having little kids, we are all very healthy and eat good, exercise, all that, but it's just that, man, you don't know what tomorrow could bring type thing. But the amount of money we could be saving is unreal when I look at the numbers. So I'm glad I jumped on the call today.
So how many years of saving that money and putting it in a savings account would it take for you to feel comfortable that you can handle something if it came up? With that kind of savings, it doesn't take long to add up. And hospitals, here's the other little secret in the whole thing, and kind of side point. Hospitals are designed with catastrophic injuries in mind, and they will work with, my experience is that they tend to work with people when the expenses get ridiculous, a lot more than they want to tell you they will. I wouldn't guarantee you that they will, but our experiences have been in a few times when we were in very, very desperate measures years ago. So there were some of the most wonderful people in helping us get our medical bills into something we could afford.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? Okay, I would encourage you that if you do have questions, to continue to ask them. Do some research on your own. Again, there's going to be plans that are going to fit everybody's needs out there if you take the time to work it. The biggest thing is be in control of your own healthcare decisions. When we ask questions at the doctor now more than we ever did when we just had some corporate insurance company paying for everything. It's a lot easier to get answers when you know what the right questions to ask. So be in charge of your healthcare. I am going to close the recording on this. I am going to post this in the future. My goal is to do workshops like this, webinars like this, about once a month for the next 6 to 12 months to see kind of what kind of response it is. I'm thrilled with the number of you that have come out to join us today. If you have a topic that you think yourself or other people that are in business with you would be interested in, whether it's sister directors in Mary Kay, consultants in Mary Kay, or in the other businesses as well. As you can tell, this wasn't Mary Kay centered. Please shoot it to me. Let me see if I can put it on my list. If it's something I'm versed in or can get versed in, I will make it part of the webinar series. Thank you very much. I hope you all had a great Christmas and have a fabulous New Year.